when you talk to Bruce Feldman, when you talk to those in the know and those are already looking ahead to next year for the draft, how do they rank the quarterbacks?
It's an interesting field. There's a lot to like about like Jackson Dart at Ole Miss, who's continued to get better. People love his toughness. They think his leadership qualities. He can run. He's got a good live arm. He's gotten better at cutting down the turnovers. It's not last year's class by any stretch. So you got Shedeur Sanders, who has a bad offensive line, but is tough and smart and accurate. You certainly have Beck at Georgia, who people really liked, and he's had some shaky moments. He does not have a great group of receivers. Obviously, there's no Brock Bowers there anymore. There's nobody close to Ladd McConkey there right now. He's playing really good defenses often. People I talked to last year about this group coming up thought he was the guy who could be first pick in the draft. I'm not saying he can't be, but right now it's been shaky. There's a few other guys who are like kind of those. Every year now, you go back to Joe Burrow, to Jaden Daniels. There's a guy who people are like, whoa, all of a sudden now he's a top 5 pick. Nobody was talking about him a year earlier in that kind of tone. And so you go through it, and there's some guys like Connor Wegman is a good example. It's Texas A&M, looked really bad, got hurt, somebody else stepped in, Marcel Reed, a younger quarterback who can run. And then last week he looked great when they blew out Missouri, who was a top 10 team at the time. Looked like the guy that some of the coaches I've talked to think, oh, he could actually be a first-round talent. They saw it. And then you start kind of going through the list of quarterbacks who have the chance. Quinn Ewers obviously played a lot of football. He's got a really good arm. I think he has continued to get better and better. Now we're going to see him this weekend against a good defense from Oklahoma, probably one of the better defenses Oklahoma's had in the last 15 years. He hasn't, he's been hurt the last couple weeks, but looked really good, I thought, against Michigan. He's somebody who's definitely in the first round conversation. Arm talent's always been really good. I think people like the development of him all the way around.
But is he in the top 5 conversation?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's people who come away, and this is not fair to him, but I think one of the things that is tough was when you get kind of tagged with what he got tagged coming out of high school. He was the highest ranked quarterback in the modern recruiting era, and that's by the internet sites. It's not to say he wasn't talented, but also it's there's a lot of stuff that was kind of sort of unusual. He really didn't have a senior year. He ended up going up to Ohio State. There was a lot of talk about the NIL situation that was part of why he went up to Ohio State. I don't think he really ever had a chance to compete for the job. It was kind of a weird situation. Then ends up going back home to Texas, where I think it was a good move for him. He gets to work with Sark. He gets to work, around some really good receivers, which obviously they've had and they still have. Now it's a different group, and it's all in front of him right now. The guy I saw against Michigan, who has a talented defense with a lot, good D line and one, high level cornerback, he looked really good. I mean, if he keeps playing like that against the SEC defenses, who knows? I mean, there's a bunch of guys who end up as top 5 quarterbacks. Sometimes you're like, yeah, how did that happen in retrospect? So I think there's way less talent. I think there are guys who don't throw it as well who've ended up in the top 5 before. Again, I wouldn't give up on Beck at Georgia. He's really smart, and he's got a good arm, and I think he sees it well, and I think they ask him to do some things. Again, it's not like one of these offenses where it's a pad your stats kind of system. So, you got Shedeur. I don't know, Shedeur's going to be an interesting evaluation because he has really good receivers, obviously with Jimmy Horn Jr. and Travis Hunter, but the offensive line is so bad. And it's better now than it was, but it's still really bad, right? And the defense has gotten a lot better, but still, he's taken a pounding. He's tough. He's smart. He throws a good deep ball. You have a wild card in Milroe at Alabama, who's blazing fast. He's really strong. He's built like a running back or a linebacker. He throws a really good deep ball, and I think he's going to keep blossoming with Kalen DeBoer. He also has by all accounts from what DeBoer told me, great work ethic. Shedeur, I think he's a first-round quarterback. I know some people who've coached against him are kind of mixed. They've seen some bad stuff. Again, and some of the bad stuff is I just think he's just, I don't want to say he's just gets under assault in these games, right? They don't run the ball well. They may try to run it a little more now than they did before, but it's just such a different thing with him. Again, Dart wouldn't surprise me if he rocketed up draft boards. I mean, he's got a ton of talent. And, he does have a good group of receivers, and Lane knows what he's doing offensively. Dart, I wouldn't sleep on Jackson Dart.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.